I'm about to tell you something that may sound like I'm taking a step backwards, but it's actually one of the smartest moves I've made in quite some time. Let's parlay. What's going on, family? Well, let's get straight to the announcement. Are you ready for it? Are you ready? Have you cleared out your desk? It's big, it's huge. All right, let me stop. I am leaving Austin. That's right. I have been in Austin for approximately 14 months about now. And you may be wondering where I'm moving to next. Any guesses? Am I going to stay in Texas? Am I going to move to another state? Am I just going to move to another city here in Texas? Well, if you guessed that I'm moving to another city in Texas, you're right. I love this state and I ain't going nowhere, damn it. However, I am deciding to move to a different city. The city I've decided to move to is, drumroll please, we're going to H-Town, baby. That's right. We're moving to Houston. Yep, you heard me correct. Houston is where your boy is moving to next. As I said, I've been in Austin for 14 months, and by the time I move, it'll be 15 months. So the move is coming up quite soon, and I wanted to make this very, very apparent just because there's going to be a lot of transition that's happening from now until the move, and I didn't want it to be something that I just delayed announcing. So I wanted to share with you why I'm moving to Houston and break down some of the principles behind the decision. And as I said earlier, it's one of the smartest decisions that I've made in quite some time. And there's some factors that are going into that I want to share with you and let you know about. So before we get into all of that, before I start giving you all the meat and potatoes on the why, I just wanted to share a couple of announcements. First and foremost, I will commit to posting every week for 2026. That is my new goal. So last year, I just wanted to get 30 episodes out. I did that. I made a little bit of like a scramble for that towards the end of the year. Oh, and by the way, Happy New Year. Yeah, we haven't even seen each other since the new year, which is crazy. As you can see, I've trimmed down a little bit, and it's mainly just to get my beard to go back up to where it used to be. So yeah, I just had to start fresh. So this is going to be a very awkward period for my beard, but in a few weeks, we're going to be solid and tight. And the other thing that I wanted to mention is that I am accepting clients for my Fit and Faith program. It's the beginning of the year. This is typically when most people are looking to focus on their fitness and focus on just doing better in their lives in general, which I would love to support. So if you are interested in working with me one-on-one, click the link in the bio to fill out an application. And if things make sense from there, I will reach out. Okay. Now that we got all of that stuff out of the way, let me share with you some of the reasons why I've decided to make this move. As a sneak peek, what I will do is I'll share what I've taken away from my time in Austin during the next episode. But for this episode, I want to talk about why I'm transitioning to Houston specifically. First and foremost, it is a huge financial decision. I am deciding to move in with my brother, and he currently has an apartment in Houston right now. So we're going to split his rent, and we're going to save a ton of money, the both of us. Very much for me, because I am paying quite a significant amount more than what he's currently paying for his rent. So I'm going to go to Houston to essentially start to make some more financial progress a lot quicker. And the reason for that being is because I've made a lot more money each year that I have, continued to progress in business, which is great. And I'm very blessed for that. I'm thankful that the work that I put in has been fruitful and has shown up in my business via clients, via the value that I'm providing to them, and me, receiving that in return. However, it's kind of like the old phrase or saying where you make more money, you spend more money. Guilty as charged. That was definitely me. And I've made some investments and used business credit and credit cards in order to make those investments in my business because I had the belief that, it's going to come right back. It's going to be well worth the investment. However, those things can pile up, right? And I can pay those things off living in Austin, and I can make progress, but it will be a lot slower than if I were to just reduce my expenses dramatically, move in with my brother, and continue to just work off the debt and save a lot more money at the same time. Plus, it allows me a lot more freedom to invest more into my coaching services so that I'm not, up to here with responsibilities as far as like what I'm paying out versus what I'm getting in return. So I wanted to share that is really the biggest reason. It's the primary reason. The other and the second reason will be because of the bond that my brother and I have formed since probably our adulthood. I would say it's become stronger and stronger each year that we've gone into our adulthood. And the reason for that being is because, one, I have always grown up by myself for the most part, right? On a day-to-day basis, like it was me, my mom, I was her only child. Of course, I would see my dad on a reoccurring basis, throughout the year and, on a monthly basis during most years. And it was, I always had a relationship with my brother, but it was kind of distant and I didn't really get to know him on a day-to-day. But what that winded up doing for me is creating this very hyper independent mindset, very, I can do everything by myself and I don't see the need to rely on anybody for anything. And that is something that I've shared plenty of times during the podcast that I've just learned is not healthy. And it's purposeful for me to move in with my brother because I've realized that when we work together, when we hold each other accountable, we do a lot better individually. I personally feel like I step up my game whenever he's holding me accountable and whenever he's watching me because I'm his older brother. I want to be an example. But it's also, for me on a personal note, just good to learn how to operate in a brotherhood and how to embrace that and manage the different challenges that come with it. And trust and believe, there's going to be some challenges with the two of us living together in his apartment, right? Like that's going to create some challenges, and not even real challenges, but things to talk through and work out and not just tuck under the rug. So for me, I've found this to be something that I feel is necessary because I've lived by myself ever since I was probably 25, right? I think it was 2019. Yeah, so even, before I turned 25, 24 is when I moved out of my mom's place and I got my own spot. And since then, I've lived by myself, and that's fine. However, what it can do is it can make it a lot more difficult for you to live with someone at some point, i.e., I expect to get married at some point and have a family. So just being able to work on relationship building on a day-to-day basis with someone, I think is going to be a huge benefit for me, for my brother as well too. And I think that there's also opportunities to just continue to build upon not only our relationship, but our plans together as well too. I won't get into any specifics because, I don't want to put our business out there, but when two people are working towards something financially or towards an investment, there's a lot more progress that's made towards those investments and towards what could come as a result of partnering together as opposed to one person relying on their income and their expenses. So I'll just leave it at that to say that we have some pretty big plans when it comes to what we're going to invest in together as a result of us going into this phase of grinding it out, living in an apartment together, and then eventually, moving towards the next venture after that. So I talked about bonding with my brother, obviously, as being very important, and I'm excited for that. The next one is really around building character. I don't know about you, but living in America, we are very comfortable. I don't know if you've been to any other country or any other, like just rougher parts of even America, right? But if you have the ability to sit here and watch me and you're able to sustain yourself. You have a roof over your head. You have clean water. You have access to food and groceries, etc. You are very privileged in the grand scheme of things. There are places where that's not readily available, where there's not systems in place for you to get things as quickly as you need them. There's not access to the things that we consider to be necessities, but are luxuries to other people. And what I've realized is I have very much become bougie. This apartment, for example, I mean, it's great. And especially the time that I've been here, I've had little to no complaints. However, it's very comfortable. It makes it very easy for me to feel content, which is fine, right? However, I tend to do a lot better when I'm in the gutter. You know what I mean? Like when stuff ain't comfortable, you going through some harder times and you got to figure it out. There's a couple examples of this in my life where this is shown true. The first time that this has happened, where I noticed that I tend to thrive in uncomfortable situations, it was after my freshman year at my high school. I went from going to public school, then going to a very prestigious college preparatory high school, or I should just say school, but I went there for high school my freshman year. And my freshman year was just a whirlwind of challenges. I had a procedure on my heart, to make sure that I wouldn't have these episodes where my heartbeat would go over like 200 beats per minute and not come down. So I had to get that procedure done to prevent that. I had dislocated my shoulder, I believe, playing football. And at the time, the coach who was coaching me was very much adamant on me coming back to play that season. Said some things that rubbed me the wrong way. And, I felt pretty, not enthused to go back and play football for that guy again. And I'm sure he was, trying to do the best for the team at the time, but it just wasn't what was best for me. Then I was also going from an environment where I had a bunch of friends in public school, very much, had a nice community in a very mixed environment, a very diverse community of friends from all sorts of different backgrounds and socioeconomic situations. Then I go to the high school that I went to, Tatnall, and very prestigious. And I'm one of 3 Black students in my class. And my class consists of, I think it was like 46 to 50 students. So it was tough. It was challenging. So I was dealing with all of that. And on top of that, I wasn't doing well in school when I was normally always on top of like my school. And my 8th grade year, I mean, it was like senior year of college. It was so easy to get by with doing the bare minimum. And that was just a product of the school that I went to at that time. I share all this to say that I wanted to quit after my freshman year. I wanted to give up and I wanted to just go to a public school or go somewhere else where I knew people and I was able to be comfortable again. And praise God for my sweet mother at the time who saw that there was an opportunity for me to push past this uncomfortable period in my life and to see the fruits of the labor that I would put in to figure it out. And I didn't see it at that time because I was all of 14, right? Thankfully, she convinced me to stay. And there was, a nice bit of momentum that she formed from other people kind of talking me through it and whatnot. And that year, like once that decision was made that I was going to stick through something that I didn't want to do, it was like everything clicked in my mind at that point where I saw it as an opportunity to just make the best out of it. I was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to this school that I don't enjoy going to. Well, I had this heart procedure. I dislocated my shoulder. Let me just get in the best shape possible. Let me just, run a bunch. Let me hit the weights. Let me do all these different things to just get as prepared for sports as possible. On the academic side, I was like, all right, I can't keep doing the things that I did my first year of high school that led to the results that I got. So I got to change something. Let me start talking to these teachers a little bit more. Let me start talking to my peers a bit more about how they study and how they go about things. And it was like from there, I just went into this dark period. And the unfortunate part about that was I did isolate a bit more than I would have liked, where I kind of didn't communicate with my friends from middle school as much. And it was almost as if like I was just in a very focused period where I didn't want any distractions. And that was the best way that I could deal with being at the school. And some of my best stuff came during that sophomore year. I started doing a lot better in school. I was a lot more in shape for basketball and track and field and the sports that I was playing that year. And then on top of that, I just felt like I was making progress. I've had other periods where I felt this as well too. I remember when, I was joining my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. That was a grinded out period where there were some tough times where it was very uncomfortable and I had to learn a lot of information in a short amount of time. And then I had to deal with my line brothers who I love them, but my God, they were stressing me out during that time. And it was another opportunity for me to just make the best out of the situation. And I always tend to thrive in those situations. And what I've realized from those two events and also just from where I've been since then is that I haven't really had a period of being very uncomfortable in my situation. Even when I quit my job, I mean, I still lived in my 1-bedroom apartment in Philly, and then Big Brother happened. So then I went on that show, and then, I came back home for a second, and then I immediately moved to LA and got a 2-bedroom apartment and was expecting to move in with somebody. Like it just was always like a very comfortable situation for the most part, where I had plenty of space, plenty of, luxuries. And yeah, I believe that I'm due for a season where things are uncomfortable, where I can build my character up again, where I can dig a little bit deeper into that Monty, that version of Monty, who sees the best in everything and does the best because I'm uncomfortable, because I don't necessarily enjoy the circumstances that I'm in. And using that as fuel to motivate me to keep working on the things that are going to be of value to the people I'm going to help, and also going to continue to glorify the Lord throughout this entire time. So that's what I mean by building character. And I don't know if you've ever gone through that experience yourself. And if you haven't, I'm not going to say sign up for it, but you could be due for that season. And especially in the economy that we're in right now, where things are very expensive, moving in with someone and having a uncomfortable situation for a short period of time is not the worst thing that could possibly happen. So for me, I still look at it as, yeah, I'm still privileged to be even able to have my brother to move in with, and for him to even say yes, to be like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, let's do it. There's many people who don't have relationships with their siblings. So the fact that I have this relationship and the fact that we're both on the same page about what we want to work towards financially, all right, I see you, God. Like, let's put this together. Let's work towards this. Let's crush it. And right after this, we're going to look back and think, man, I'm so thankful that we decided to do this. I'm so thankful and so appreciative that we decided to have that short-term pain for the long-term gain. So, building character. The last thing that I wanted to mention was not maybe the biggest motivator. Not the biggest motivator. And the interesting part about this one, and I'll just share, was that I really wanted to move. I also find it beneficial to move to Houston for building the community that I'm looking for. And the crazy part is that, of course, when I make this decision to move to Houston, community just starts falling in my lap here in Austin, right? And don't get me wrong, I've had community here in Austin, but it seems like it's growing a lot, just very rapidly as of recently. And I just think that that's God's sense of humor. It's like, yeah, get out of here. But I'm going to make sure that before you leave, you're going to have a nice bit of community here. And it's going to be something that you can embrace before you head out. But the reason why I say that in Houston, I feel like I'll be able to find the community I'm looking for is because, Austin, I love it. I mean, the people and the type of people and the energy here is so positive and so loving. However, there is sort of like a lot of similarities amongst the folks who are here, right? Like when it comes to the line of work that most people are in, you got tech, you got entrepreneurs, um, what people are interested in, a lot of run clubbers, high rocks, that sort of vibe. And I'm not saying everybody here is the same. However, because it's such a small city, and granted, there are a lot of people moving to Austin, but because it's such a small city, it does feel like you kind of fall into whatever these major buckets are of what people are interested in, what they do, what people look like, for example. Whereas I grew up in the Northeast, and I'm used to being around a lot of different types of people from different cultural and ethnic backgrounds who are interested in all sorts of different things. And I will say that I did leave the East Coast because I did feel like the mindset of people in the East Coast was a bit stagnant and very just within this bubble of what they thought was possible based off of what they've experienced. And I've appreciated how open-minded and how curious and just expansive people's mindsets are down here in Austin. I've definitely appreciated that. However, when I think about Houston, I think about it being a larger city and being able to find so many different pockets and so many different groups that I feel like will kind of put together the community that I'm looking for, where there's, physical fitness, there's folks of faith, which I hope is surrounding all of that, obviously. There's a type of music that I grew up listening to, right? The type of food, and I've heard a lot about the food in Houston. I'm definitely excited for that. All of those different things can make up the community that I feel like would be more possible in Houston versus in Austin. And that's nothing against Austin at all. I don't even think that's not even the main driver. That's literally the reason why it's the last thing that I've mentioned. However, I do think it will be a nice benefit to moving to a city like Houston, where it is bigger and you're bound to have more of those pockets of communities that you can find. So those are my reasons for why I've decided to move to Houston. I'll be moving in with my brother at the end of February, and we will be living together for a period of time that is undisclosed. We'll see. It depends on how quickly we hit our financial goals, but I just wanted to share that to start off this year. And I hope that everybody has had a wonderful new year. I hope that 2026 is full of nothing but blessings and opportunities for you to grow. If you haven't watched the last couple of episodes where I talk about what you should do when it comes to reflecting and how you should use that reflection to gear up for this new year, please go ahead and watch those, because I feel like those will really be of value if you haven't taken the time to really envision what this year looks like for you. But other than that, that is all that I have for today. Stay tuned for the next episode where I talk about what I've gotten from Austin and the value that I've received, and also what I feel like I've maybe contributed, because I feel like I don't want that to be something that's missing from this conversation and this decision, because God definitely put me here for a reason, and I want to talk about why I believe God put me in Austin, for me personally and for the community that I've embarked upon. So that's all I got for today. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Let's Parley. Hope you've been encouraged to bet on yourself and pursue all that life has in store for you. I'm your host, Monty Taylor. God bless. Take care.